Aloha, this is Bear Woznick, and welcome to the Bear Woznick Adventure. Coming to you today from Waikiki Beach. We're in Hawaii today, so we're doing a remote broadcast, and my producer, Bill Snyder, is helping us do that. He's in Chicago, and I'm on the beach in Waikiki. Aloha, Bill Snyder. Thanks for helping me on the show today.
Of course, Bear. It's always great to be with you.
You know, we're here in Waikiki Beach, and we've gotten some good waves. We've got some good tandem surfing, some stand-up paddling, but the volcano on the Big Island has been rumbling lately. There's been a stirring underneath the ground of the lava flowing. We're getting tremors, several tremors a minute over the last several days, so there is some concern about Pele having an event. They say it's more active now than it's been since the 50s, so we're not sure what's going to happen. I know my son has some land over there near the volcano, so hopefully we'll get through this broadcast without a volcanic eruption anyway. Aloha. So Bill Snyder, you know, just to introduce a little bit who you are, you're the one who takes our radio show and then does all the magic and puts the music and the intros and the outros together and then sends it off to EWTN. But you have your own show too. Tell us a little bit about your radio show.
Sure. So my program is a podcast, which is part of the Breadbox Media Network, and it's called Young Catholics Respond, and what we do is we do much like what Bear does here on EWTN and all around the internet, and challenge people to live a life of faith in this culture, right? Respond to the culture as young Catholics. So thus it's Young Catholics Respond. And we're growing, and it's a lot of fun to be able to share the airwaves with the likes of many great Catholic podcasters and radio people like Bear. So that's what we do basically. You can find us at my website, patchworkheart.org, or you can just Google Patchwork Heart Ministry, Patchwork Heart Radio.
Well, you know, and Bill, you just had 68 young people from your youth group confirmed. Was that yesterday, or when did they receive their confirmation?
They received confirmation last night. The auxiliary bishop in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, James Sherman, came down and confirmed 68 young people. It was just a beautiful, beautiful ceremony, and we battled some hail, but we made it, and it was a great confirmation ceremony.
Well, you know, so you're so involved. You're involved. Your focus of your life right now is youth ministry. What is it that the young people are looking for today? What are they hungry for? What is it that you see the stirrings of their heart?
You know, one of the neat things about working in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee is that the bishop says that we have to examine the faith of each and every person that is making confirmation, or at least says the bishop does. So I get the opportunity to have a one-on-one interview with each and every kid who wants to be confirmed. I have to sit down with them for 15 or 20 minutes and have a conversation, an intelligent conversation, I like to say, about the Catholic faith and their faith life. So I really get a unique insight into these kids and what they're hungering for and what they're looking for as a young person out there in society today. So what are they hungering for? What am I seeing? I'm seeing kids who have a desire to make a positive impact on the world. I'm seeing kids who have a desire to make a positive impact on the world, and even if they don't know quite how to get there, they do have a hunger to make that happen with their faith. They have a desire to keep God at the center of that. And it's my job to really help them achieve that goal. And whether or not they're right in step with everything the church teaches, there is a hunger for that. And we can do a lot with that hunger. I mean, I saw it in all 68 of the kids that were confirmed this past last night.
So there's a desire to give to make the world a better place, to make a contribution to the world. what are you seeing out there though among the kids, the younger people, that so many of them, it's so cool to be an atheist now? What do you see? Do you have a sense that that generation, the younger generation, to some extent, is adrift, and not knowing where to anchor, what to throw out their anchor anymore, where the safe harbor is, where truth is, where moral truth is? What are you seeing there?
Well, I fortunately I didn't see a ton of that this year, but I have seen it in the past, and the way I like to classify it is complete apathy. It's really hard to be an atheist. I mean, it's really hard to be an atheist. I don't understand atheism because I'm not one. You know what I mean? And I truly believe that in order to be an atheist, you have to do a ton of research to disprove a God that exists. I'm not smart enough to do that. So when it comes down to these kids, that's the way I look at it. I mean, unfortunately, I haven't seen a lot of that this year.
I mean, we're made, we're made imago Dei, we're made in God's image. And there is a certain denial of even your own self to deny that God is. There is that upward yearning that we can't deny in our own soul. That desire for truth, for example. And they want to say that there is really no truth. There is no absolute truth. Whatever you think is right for you is right for you. Whatever I think is right for me is right for me. But still, they can't lie to the fact that within them there is this desire for truth. And there's also a desire for beauty. I mean, who doesn't love to see a beautiful sunset or see two people in love? The beauty of that type of relationship, the beauty of the waves that are breaking. There is a desire in our hearts for beauty that an animal, a simple animal, doesn't have. But the spiritual, rational soul that God planted within us gives us that desire for beauty. And then there's a desire for justice. And you see that even among the atheists, they have a desire for justice. But what do they base it on? They base it on the social contract of do no harm. I won't harm you if you don't harm me. Even Jesus increased that by the golden rule: do unto others what you would have them do unto you. But then Jesus took it one more step further, and he said, basically, love your enemies, and lay down your life. The greatest love you can show is to lay down your life. So everyone, even the most unloved person in the world, understands what love is and desires love. So there's a desire for truth, for justice, for beauty, and for love. But, the other day, Bill, I was out surfing at my favorite spot, probably my favorite spot in the whole world. It's called Fours. It's a surf spot I have to paddle about a mile down outside and then down the beach, and no one's ever there, and it only breaks when it's a little bit bigger. And when I surfed this wave, the water was so crystal clear that I really couldn't hardly see it part of the time. I would just see the refraction of the reef below me. And it was so beautiful. And when the barrel almost is covering you, you feel like there's no place else I would rather want to be. And then I would look down the line, and straight down the line of the wave is Diamond Head in the distance. But no matter how beautiful that moment is, and how I didn't want it to end, and how great I felt, it didn't take away from this constant yearning, kind of aching in my heart to go home. But I'm home. I'm in Waikiki. No, there is this yearning, for God. So I think the younger generation that has been basically fed this poison of that God doesn't exist, and that somehow science is inconsistent with spirituality, that somehow there's, scientific truth and there's faith truth, and how they think that they're not the same thing. I think there's going to come a time when they desperately look inside themselves and feel the shame. I think especially so many who have fallen into pornography, when they feel that sense of shame in themselves, that there's going to be this turning to maybe there is something more. and maybe there is a God. And when they do that, we have to be ready with a reason we need to be ready to give them an answer, for the reason for our faith.
Yes, and
and
yeah,
and the reason for our hope.
yeah,
And I think there's no one better prepared than the Catholic Church, people that are grounded in the Catholic faith to do that. Give us a wrap up here as we close the segment, Bill, and then come back for a Q&A.
Yeah, I was thinking, just to wrap this up with the ability to say, we have to be ready and to offer that reason for our hope in this way. Show people what they're doing good. Show people what they're doing good in their life and through the natural virtue that they're living, and then say, hey, but you know what? If you give this to God, He's going to multiply it by 10,000, and your life is going to be a billion times better. You will achieve good happiness and great joy in your life if you give the virtue that you're living toward God, and it just is the best way to go with a lot of these kids. Yes.
This is Bear Woznick with the Bear Woznick Adventure. We're talking actually to our producer, Bill Snyder from Patchwork Ministries. We'll be right back with more of the Bear Woznick Adventure.
This is a warning. The Bear Woznick Adventure is dangerous. The radical change Bear challenges you to is not for whims. Change this station to a soft rock station before it's too late. You've been warned. Now, here is Bear Woznick.
Aloha and welcome back to the Bear Woznick Adventure. The only reason we do this show is because we want to change history. We want to change the personal history of each person that's listening somehow by our guests and what we're sharing here, that people would get a sense of conviction and a sense of traction in their lives to lay down their lives more to the one who is love, to desire God with all their heart, soul, strength, and mind. And in so doing, each listener changes the personal history of everyone they touch throughout the day. We have as my guest, Bill Snyder, who's really going to be serving almost as our host today. We're going to do a Q&A where he's going to ask me some questions. We're going to have a unique journey on the Bear Woznick Adventure today. So aloha, Bill Snyder. Welcome to the Bear Woznick Adventure.
It's always great to be surfing the waves with you, Bear.
Oh, man, we've had some fun waves here in Hawaii, too, by the way, lately. And I'm looking out my window right now at, they're not big, but they're shoulder to head high, just perfect waves. And Cindy and I are going to go out and do some tandem surfing later in the day. I know people may not know what that is, but that's where we paddle in a wave together. She's in front of me. And when we drop in and make that bottom turn, she turns and I put her up into I guess you would call it pairs skating, sort of overhead lifts. And there's nothing more romantic or more beautiful. So, yeah, we're looking forward to getting out and surfing a little bit. But I wanted to let people know, a lot of people don't know about Bear's Man Cave, that men can go to my website, deepadventure.com, and they can click the little button that says Join the Man Cave. And what it is it's a private group for men only. And when they join the Man Cave, we then invite them to the secret Facebook group, Bear's Man Cave. The people will get confused by what I'm saying, and they'll go to Facebook, find Bear's Man Cave, and ask to join, but they can't join via Facebook. They have to join by going through our website. So if they go to deepadventure.com, the men can join, and then we give them access to the private Facebook group, Bear's Man Cave. And there's a men that are really wanting to challenge each other and encourage each other to go deeper with God. There's all kinds of posts. You know, someone might post a quote from John Wayne, and someone else a quote from St. John Paul II, and you know, or Fulton Sheen. And men will share, you know, guys, I'm really struggling in a certain area of my life right now. Can you pray for me? And then every 2 or 3 weeks, we have a Bear's Man Cave meetup, a video chat, where all the men get together, and we actually kind of go through my book, Deep Adventure, The Way of Heroic Virtue, and we share a cigar or maybe a manly beverage, as we say. We restrict it to one, but maybe a shot of whiskey or a beer or a cup of coffee, and maybe one of our cigars, our Seven Virtue cigars that we have at our website. And we really go deep with each other, and it's just so good to see each other face to face and put a face to the people that we're praying for. So we invite the men, go to our website, deepadventure.com, and join Bear's Man Cave. And if you're a woman and you'd like to see your husband or your son or your father or your brother-in-law, go to our website and give them a gift subscription to the Man Cave for a year, maybe for Father's Day. But anyway, we really love the Man Cave, and we hope men will want to join it. We need to have, men are lonely. All their conversations, Bill, tend to be about sports and politics and work, and nothing about real life. So this is a place where men can get real. We've seen real changes in men's lives. So want to encourage people to do that. But anyway, Bill Snyder is with us. He is the producer of our show, and today he's going to do a Q&A of me. We're reversing course, and he's in a sense kind of interviewing me. So, Bill, what do you have? Do you have the hardest questions in the history of mankind for me, or what do you have there?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, I try and stump the bear any way I can, but the
that's going to be easy.
Yeah, well, one of the things I want to do is talk with you a little bit about the two ways of the Didache, the two ways of Didache, this path of righteousness, this path of destruction, and really let you kind of explain that to us, because there is this path in ancient Catholicism, ancient church history, that it's basically the catechism, right? It's basically the catechism, first catechism.
Well, okay, yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. The Didache was the first catechism. In fact, it was written before any of the New Testament was written. We think it was written around 50 A.D. It's very slim, almost like seminar notes. And it talks in the Didache about the early doctrine of the church, the moral teaching of the church, and how they worshiped. For example, it talks about the baptism and the Eucharist. And we knew that the Didache existed, but it had disappeared until like the late 1800s. It was discovered by a monk in Nicodemia. I think it's over there in Turkey. In Turkey, in the back storage room somewhere, he found the Didache. So we have the full Didache now, and it's really not that thick, but in there, one of the things it talks about, the main thing that steps out to my mind, is it talks about the two ways. And of course, we see that in the Gospels too, that there's a way that leadeth to destruction, and there's a way that leads to life. And I see this in the world today. The road has gotten wider, it seems, that's on the way to destruction. And there's more people than ever just walking off that cliff into endless darkness. Jesus said, and I'm not going to hold back from saying what he said, that the way to heaven is narrow, and few there be that walk on it. I was out here, a few years ago. I usually surf every day, and then I take a beach walk in, and I walk all the way to the end of the beach in Waikiki. Excuse me. And at the end of the beach, there is a place where the men will paddle out, or the women and women will paddle out with their outrigger canoes. Sometimes it's a big canoe with 8 to 10 people in it. And sometimes it's just a single man, carbon fiber, super light, super fast outrigger canoe. And I was walking down, and here came someone paddling. They'd obviously done a long run, and I shouted out for him, "Where'd you come from?" He said, "I paddled from the Outrigger Canoe Club." And so he gets off the canoe, he flips it on his shoulder, and starts walking right out through this through the water there, where I know it's very rocky and very sharp. And I'm wondering, how can he do that? And then as he comes out of the water, I can see it's kind of a low tide, and there's this beautiful little path, no more than 1.5 feet wide, that somehow, who knows how many years ago, this path was kind of ground out in the coral so you could walk on sand and come in. And this is like this hidden, ancient path, this secret path, this ancient way of the Catholic Church that the Catholic Church teaches. It's narrow, but it gets you through. It'll get you through life. And so this narrow way is something we have to choose. It's easy just to go the way of the world. It's like, floating downstream. It's different when you take the narrow way. When Long Ride Home was being shot, when season 1 was being shot, we rode from Cocoa Beach, Florida to San Diego. And on the way, we went to the Big Bend. But Bill, there's no way you just pass through the Big Bend on your way to San Diego. Big Bend is not on its way to anywhere. You go so deep into that Big Bend, the Big Bend in the state of Texas, you're all the way down to the Mexico border on the Rio Grande, where Pancho Villa, ran across the border, running from Blackjack, Pershing. It's so remote, and you're on a freeway, and then a 2-lane highway, and then a road with no divider in it at all, and the road narrows and narrows and narrows. So you don't go to the Big Bend unless you choose to go. And this is the way of the DDK, the way to life, is to choose God, choose God's will. And to say God's will is the same thing, exact same thing, as to say God's love. Choose the path of giving your life. Jesus said, "He who keeps his life will lose it. He who gives it away will find it." There is this inner downward spiral of selfishness, of need, of a lust for power and money, self. That's the downward spiral to hell. But Aquinas said that love is willing the true good for the other, and that it's self-donation. And if you give your life away to Jesus, if you give your life away to goodness and to beauty and to justice and to truth and to love, you will find yourself choosing God and finding your way to heaven. Whether you go to heaven or hell is 100% under your control. You have been given a freedom of choice, a freedom of will. And so we need to choose God. I give you my life. God, I'm going to fail every day, but please help me every day to grow a little bit closer to you and to rely on your grace and truth. So Bill Snyder has been asking me a question. I guess I took the whole segment, Bill, but we want to invite people to go to our website, deepadventure.com, and we really want to invite the men, especially coming up on Father's Day, to go to our website and join Bear's Man Cave. Bill, your ministry is called Patchwork Ministries. Your website is patchwork.org.
Patchwork Heart. Patchwork Heart.
Patchwork Heart.
Yep.
The mystery of Bill Snyder is that he's had to have heroic surgery on his heart even when he was young, and so his whole life is just devoted to converting other people's hearts. We'll be right back with more of the Bear Woznick Adventure.
Deep Virtue with Bear Woznick.
Aloha, this is Bear Woznick from deepadventure.com with Deep Virtue number 82. This is called The Best Perspectives Are From the Edge. My children were younger, my two youngest sons, Shane and Joshua. I was a ninja black belt, and I was training them to get their black belts too. They were in high school, and some were in junior high school. And I would take them hiking at night. I used to hike every single night, go out into the mountains behind my house in Southern California. You could be so alone up there, so fast, not a light shining anywhere. And we would go hiking at night, and we'd go up into the mountains, and we would do our ninja training up there, because a lot of the ninja training is in the dark. In fact, if you're ever going to get in a fight, good chances it probably will be in the dark. And so we would hike there at nighttime. And we go way up on top of this one mountain. It's called Boney Ridge in Thousand Oaks, California. And when we would get up there, there's this kind of a flat rock, and we go through some of our fighting techniques. And then we'd sit on that rock and just look over Thousand Oaks and Ventura and over into the San Fernando Valley. You had such a perspective. And it made you realize that you've got to step out of the box sometimes in your life and get a new perspective. I want to challenge you to get away someplace into nature this week. Get away with the Lord and spend time with Him and say, God, am I really just going through a routine? Am I missing something here? What is it? Is there something that I'm missing? Is there a calling? Is there a new perspective I need to get from you? What can I recreate my life in some way that gives it a new trajectory that's more perfectly in tune with your perfect will, God? I believe that God has a passion project for each one of us. There's something that He's calling you to that only you can do. And I'm challenging you to get away with the Lord and discover what that is. This is Bear Woznick from deepadventure.com with Deep Virtue number 82.
Deep Virtue with Bear Woznick. Find out more at deepadventure.com.
Aloha and welcome back to the Bear Woznick Adventure. We're here in Waikiki Beach. There's been a rumbling in the volcano on the Big Island, which was a few hundred miles away from here. Tremors, maybe 7 or 8 tremors a minute over the last several days. They're concerned that there might be a major event over there. We're looking out over the ocean. There's been more fog than normal. We normally don't get volcanic fog here, but when the winds blow Kona, in other words, they blow from the Kona coast of the Big Island, we'll get that here. So we've had a little bit of fog, and so we hope we get through this broadcast without the volcano blowing up. But I've got Bill Snyder, our producer of the show, is interviewing me today. He's doing a remote, we're doing a remote feed to him from Waikiki. So aloha, Bill. Good to have you back on the show.
Yes, it's great to be with you. And it just snowed 2 weeks ago here, so we've still got snow on the ground. You've got volcanoes erupting. We've got quite a mix today.
Well, there is snow here too. I know a month ago there was still snow on the mountain peaks here in Waikiki, on the other islands. So, but anyway, Bill, we're going to have a Q&A. So why don't we get started on that? Ask me the toughest questions in the history of the universe.
Yeah. So, Bear, one of the things I think is a lot about young men who struggle with relationship, and I think a big topic of conversation is just that. How do we treat women with dignity? How do we treat women fairly and as equals? But also still in that leadership vein, right? We're built to be leaders, and we're built to be the spiritual head of the family, as we're taught, in the church. So how best do we, as young men who battle with that very, very difficultly in our daily lives, how do we overcome that?
Okay, I guess I'm gonna say it like it is. I see too many cowards out there, and I don't mean just the guys in the church, but I see a whole generation of cowards, and they're being led by men my age too. I just see a lot of cowardly men out there, and what I mean by that is, St. John Paul II, his first book was called Love and Responsibility. And I see men, having a woman that they've been dating for a year or two or even 10 years. They may be living with this woman. They're having sex with this woman. They basically are kind of having their cake and eat it too. They're having all that they want as far as the love part goes, but no responsibility. And they're cowards. And it's, when I go and we're at the monastery here in Hawaii, last weekend where I guess finally going to get to be made a full oblate. I've been a novitiate forever. I get to be made a full oblate here in a few weeks. But a couple of young women came up in their mid-20s, just out of college, and my wife Cindy was talking to them about our ministry and about our challenging men, and they both look at me like desperately, yes, where are the men? Where are the men? The men won't ask them out on dates. The men, when they do start dating them, there's no commitment, and there's never there's no consideration of marriage. And then there's the men that live with a woman and aren't married to her, and they make it so easy. The society today makes that so easy, but it's not a happy situation. It isn't leading to your happiness or the woman's happiness or anyone's joy. And so I know I'm being really tough in saying there's too many cowardly men around. But when I had my Women of Virtue video chat, a Zoom chat a couple weeks ago, I asked the women, what is the number one thing you want me to tell the men out there? And they had a lot of thoughts, but the overwhelming response was, we want the men to be leaders again. And they don't mean machoism. They mean spiritual, lay your life down, self-donation, leadership, leading by example, being a spiritual leader. So it's kind of like these different stages. First of all, there's men out there that are just too afraid to even date a woman. They're just too closed up. And one of the reasons is because they've been raised by a woman that hates men. They've had a mother that was divorced by a man who abandoned her and her son. And so they doubt their own masculinity, because their own manliness, because their own mother maybe doesn't trust men. So they don't even trust themselves. But men, if you see a woman that you're interested in, ask her out on a date and get to know her, and be bold and boldly fail in your relationships. Ask a woman out and she says no. Good, you failed, but at least you failed by stepping out and being manly about it. But begin to ask women out, and then when you're out with them, you date them once or twice, and you should know by then whether there's a potential there for a relationship that could lead to marriage. And if it isn't, don't waste their time and don't waste your time. If you've been with a woman for a year or 18 months or 2 years, by then you should know whether or not you want to spend the rest of your life with her. And if you don't, be manly enough to tell her, we are not compatible and this isn't where the direction I want to go in my life. But if you are, you need to take the next step. You need to say, let me not just enjoy your company and have sex with you, because so many people are doing that, but let me cherish you, be devoted to you, love you, lay my life down for you, be open to life, raise a family. So I'm really challenging the men to stop being cowards and start to date women with having in mind the pursuit of marriage. And when you find someone that is compatible with you and you feel worthy about, ask them to marry you. And if you're not going to, then leave them alone. Let them go on with their life and find a real man instead of hanging out with a boy. But then the other thing is, I want to challenge the women. I know I'm being real straightforward here, but the women have acquiesced. They will have sex with a man on the third date, or maybe sooner, and then sooner or later they are living with them with no intent of marrying them, and they've kind of lost that social contract with the other women. It was the women that tamed the West. When I love to read Western novels. When the women went west, then there was. It was at that point that the West kind of got tamed. The women don't tame the men anymore. The women have allowed the men to have what they want out of a relationship with no responsibility. So it kind of falls on both shoulders. But I'm focusing right now on the men. Stop being cowards, start being a real man, and start finding a focus and a way to really lay down your life for a woman. I had a man write to me the other day, Bill, and this was his question. I love your Deep Adventure Ministries, and I love adventure, and I want to have adventure, and I'm torn between having an adventurous life, and having a family. And I just dude, you're missing the whole point. What could be more adventurous than finding a woman that you can devote your life to and raise children? What could be more exciting than bringing into existence an eternal being, a child that will live forever. What greater adventure could there be than that? So I guess I'm just kind of tired of it. I see it all the time. I see women in so much agony and pain because the men won't step up. In fact, I don't even call them men. The boys won't step up and be a man and say, I love you, I'm going to marry you, I'm going to lay down my life for you, we're going to raise a family, and we're going to have a life leading each other and helping each other get to heaven.
Good stuff, Bear. It's always great to hear when you get fired up and roaring, because it's good stuff.
Well, John Paul II said his first book was Love and Responsibility. And there is this part where I talk about, where I've just challenged the men to man up. But there is this other part that you can't have any greater experience in life than to be married, to be a husband, to be a father. As a husband, we are replicating the role of Jesus in his relationship to the church, his bride. And as a father, God the Father is not kind of like a father. It's not like an allegorical statement to say God is a father, kind of like us when we have kids. It's the opposite. God is a father. He eternally begot his son. Jesus is God of God, light of light, true God of true gods. He's begotten of his Father. Love procreates. Love by its very nature protects. Love by its very nature provides. Man, in your heart you want to be a hero. Stop being a lame, crippled little nothing and man up. Because guess what? As soon as you man up, you're going to feel the Holy Spirit but steel in your backbone. And you're going to feel the Holy Spirit give you the resolve and the direction. So you can't have a greater life than to do that. And remember, as a man, there's something in you, something deep in you that wants to be a hero. And this is the heroic life that God has for you, to lay your life down for a woman and for your family. We've been questioned by my friend Bill Snyder, who's the producer of our show. This is Bear Woznick. We're doing this remote. I'm in Waikiki Beach at my home here. So great to be here, seeing all my friends, and a lot of what I call my friends are the different reefs out here. We've been able, Cindy and I, to go out and surf and kind of have a time of being restored physically and getting healthy, and focusing on doing some new segments, some new 2-minute clips, and working on my new book, The Man Cave. And we want to invite everyone to go to our website, deepadventure.com, and you can get some cool stuff for your man for Father's Day. We got beer mugs, whiskey tumblers, the 7 Virtue cigar samplers, and men's T-shirts of Long Ride Home and coffee cups, all kinds of stuff there. So we invite you to go there. We'll be right back. This is Bear Woznick with the Bear Woznick Adventure.
It's time for Long Ride Home cast member Daniel the Boone Markham to ride herd on us and challenge us to man up.
That's for the birds. Birds are fascinating creatures. In fact, after horse and dog, birds are my favorite critters. I especially delight in birds during my early morning prayer walks, when they awaken the dawn in song. Now the term, "that's for the birds," is, well, a surprising idiom to put it mildly, especially when you find out its original meaning. It comes from birds picking seed out of horse manure. Yep, there's some raw reality there for you. There's plenty of things that life throws at you that are for the birds, like your spouse cheating on you, or your kids rebelling, or your best friend betraying you, or losing your job. Well, you get my drift. Sometimes them chocolates in life's like a box of chocolates are just like horse droppings. But let's look at it another way. Yep, there's another way to look at it in spite of its lack of appeal. Kind of like making lemon juice from them lemons deal. Seeds can produce quite a lot of good, even if they come wrapped in horse's dung. Fact is, the Apostle Paul wrote that his life before coming to Christ was dung. And that's an exact quote from the letter to the Philippians. Interesting to me when I read the Gospels how Jesus most of the time picked out folks to walk with him who were what others would consider lowlife, such as prostitutes, smelly old fishermen, lepers, and beggars, and the despised tax collectors. He picked seeds right out of the manure of life and then planted them and made them not only useful, but a blessing. So if you're thinking lowly about yourself, remember that in Christ's view, you're a seed full of potential. This is Daniel the Boone Markham at DanielTheBooneMarkham.com on a journey a few miles this side of heaven.
This is a warning. The Bear Woznick adventure is dangerous. The radical change Bear challenges you to is not for whims. Change this station to a soft rock station before it's too late. You've been warned. Now, here is Bear Woznick.
Hey, aloha, this is Bear Woznick, and I want to say hi right now to all the people that we bumped into in shooting Long Ride Home, especially Captain Stoney out there in Asheville, North Carolina. It was so cool to meet him. We were shooting in Asheville, we were doing the Blue Ridge Parkway, and he shows up with like 6 or 7 of his other motorcycle cops. And dude, they're all like 6'10" or something like that. And when they rolled in on their motorcycles, believe me, they rode in formation, and just powerful guys. And they joined us for mass. So I want to say hi to Captain Stoney, and I want to say aloha to the couple we met at the gas station in Louisiana, and the MMA fighter we bumped into somewhere in Arizona, and his aunt that was with him. I just want to say aloha to all the people that we enjoyed meeting on our ride. Jean Prejean, who bumped into us in Las Cruces. It was a godsident. So, and of course, we bumped into, I forget his first name, but Garcia, who was riding his bicycle across from Texas to San Diego. Well, we bumped into him twice on our ride. I just want to say we love all you guys, and you're a big part of our Long Ride Home show, and thank you for encouragement you gave us on our road, and let you guys know Long Ride Home is showing 11 p.m. Eastern Times. It's a 10-episode series. The men joined me riding across the United States, and we're already about halfway through editing season 2, which will be airing hopefully soon on EWTN. And so, and we're going to be shooting season 3 here pretty soon in Hawaii. So we really love the impact that Long Ride Home is having. It's letting you know that you can be manly and be a Christian. In fact, you really can't be manly unless you are.
3, 2, and 1.
And we have Bill Snyder, who's the producer of our show. We're doing this remote cast, remote recording, because I'm in Waikiki Beach, and he's been asking me the tough questions. So, Bill, what else do you have for me?
All right, so in the last segment, we were talking about men manning up, but maybe they're finding themselves in a difficult situation, and they need to rectify that situation in some way, and they just don't know how to do that. Do you have any insights into difficult situations that, guys find themselves in relationship?
It can be really tough, and here's the thing. And this is why you need to go to a pastor, to go to your priest and talk with them about your individual circumstances, because there can be layer upon layer of heartache from the past in a divorce, or children from one or two marriages, and you're living with someone right now that you've had a child together with and you're not married to. There can be all these really hard circumstances, and yet the first thing I would do as a man is I would pray a 9-day novena to marry the untier of knots. When you're in a situation where you feel like there's no way you can make it right, pray that 9-day novena and get a buddy to pray it with you. The 9-day novena to marry untier of knots, and then go to your pastor. I myself, I've been through an annulment, and it is hard and so tragic it is to go through a divorce. The church has this beautiful ministry to you through the annulment process. And I have friends that say, it takes so long, why I'm not even going to bother. But that's just foolishness. It may take 6 months, it may take 2 years, or you may not even be eligible for an annulment. But go and receive the ministry of the church. So the first thing I would say is, man up, and get humble, and remember that God, more than anything, is a God of mercy, and that he has a path for you. And so go to your pastor and ask for his counsel. All the situations are so unique and so different and so all involved. But there's a way that you can untie those knots, and there's a way that you can put things back in order. And so many older guys, they're like in their second relationship. They don't want to get married because, I got burned by a woman, and I don't want to get involved in all the financial, threat to my financial life or whatever else. And I look at them and I go, is this the legacy you want your children to see? That you lived with a woman and didn't marry her? Is this what you want your sons to do? Is this going to be acceptable for your daughter? Is this you leading by example? Is this you being a servant leader? So by all means, men and women, you need to go to your pastor. This is what the Pope has been asking us to do, to go to the pastor and ask, for counsel on how to proceed in a life that's become a little bit confusing, or even a whole lot confusing. But I'm telling you, pray the novena to marry untier of knots. It's powerful. Whenever I have a friend that is in a situation like this and they ask for my prayers, that's what I do. I pray that novena.
Wonderful.
What else do you have for us, Bill?
Well, I maybe want to jump back to the youth just for a minute and talk with you about those complicated situations for youth, and maybe not so much along the lines of relationships, but they could be mired down in a bunch of other unhealthy habits, with drug addiction, with whatever they're finding themselves attached to. Even there's a as we talked about in the beginning of the show, this secularization going on. Do you have any insight into, all right, how do I beat and train my body a little bit, when I'm dealing with these really big challenges of addiction to, whether it's sex, drugs, alcohol, whatever it might be? How do I overcome those things?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that I'm seeing right now is the full-on attack against manliness on the part of pornography. When I was young, you didn't see it. I mean, you had to really try hard to find, a Playboy magazine or something like that. But now it's every moment of every day. It's on the attack. It's looking for you. It's hunting you down like a wolf, chasing you down. And you have to remember that pornography is an attack on your manliness. And it is, because when you participate in that, you have that sense of shame. And you know that in the deepest part of your heart, you've betrayed yourself. And of course, you've betrayed the person that you victimized, by participating in looking at that. And so the greatest way to deal with disordered desire, whether it is alcoholism, drug addiction, hanging out with the wrong friends, going to the wrong clubs, pornography. Nowadays, I think the youth just assume pornography is a part of your everyday life. But here's the thing. The key to it is to recognize that God has given you this gift in your heart, a fire in your heart, and this fire is called desire. God has given you the ability to desire, and it's a beautiful and powerful thing. But if it's disordered, it can be very destructive. And so the whole key, in my mind, is to fan that flame of desire up to the very, very uttermost. And how do you do it is by redirecting your desire. Jesus said, "Thou shalt love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind." If you're serious about overcoming that type of disordered desire, spend your time in prayer. I always encourage the liturgy to be hours. First thing in the morning, prayer, pray the office of readings, or pray or read the readings from Mass, or go to Mass, or go to Eucharistic adoration. But if you're serious about overcoming these addictions, you need to spend an hour every day in prayer. Pray the Rosary, pray the Our Father, pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet, pray the Jesus Prayer, receive confession. Every time you fall, go to confession, go to confession, go to confession, and receive the sacraments. So the whole key is God is the only thing or being that we can desire with all our heart. And so if you fan your flame into the love of God, you don't want to disrupt that relationship, that sense of intimacy you have with him by something stupid like pornography or some other addiction. So the first thing to do, besides maybe getting some help, some professional help, is to spend at least an hour every day in prayer and fanning into flame your desire for God. This is Bear Woznick with the Bear Woznick Adventure. Bill Snyder's been interviewing me. We kind of turned the tables on our show this week. We want to encourage you to go to our website, deepadventure.com. There's my book, Deep in the Wave, A Surfing Guide to the Soul, an Amazon bestseller, and my other book, Deep Adventure, The Way of Heroic Virtue, is there for you. And you can also, you can go there and join Bear's Man Cave, a private group, private Facebook group. You can only join it by going to the website. You can't join it through Facebook. And don't forget to follow me, though, Bear Woznick on Facebook, and you can be part of our daily Ocean Sunrise Catechism that we hold. Anyway, until next week, this is Bear Woznick. May the breath of the Holy Spirit aloha you. Aloha.
You've been listening to the Bear Woznick Adventure. Go to BearWoznick.com to get your free audio and other exciting content. Plus, you can pick up the Long Ride Home 10-episode DVD set, autographed copies of Bear's books, Long Ride Home shirts, tanks, coffee cups, and even motorcycle pins and patches. And find out how guys can sign up for Bear's Man Cave online Facebook group. All at BearWoznick.com.